Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. It's October 18th, a very poignant and meaningful day in my life back when I was growing up. So this day is with me. And this is, it's like actually it's a bit of a departure for Calvin and Conversation with Calvin. With Ishi Ron, quite an unbelievable author. He's in Israel. And the book that he wrote, we're going to dissect and analyze. It's called Dog. And it doesn't really have anything to do with a dog. It has to do with some powerful, powerful themes. And what really attracted me to this whole project is it's the, as I'm looking at my notes, the exploration of the search for meaning after the wreckage of war, told through the eyes of an Israeli combat officer. I mean, this is powerful, powerful stuff. What drew me to this is, I came out of, I grew up and I lived through the entire Vietnam War. I was in college and I protested and I wondered and the whole specter of war was all around me and people whom I knew lost their lives in Vietnam. I didn't believe I don't believe in war in general. I believe talking is just a better thing to do. It's been part of my whole constitution. I'm also drawn to fellow authors. I'm an indie author. You all know that. And uh, Ishi, a fellow author, and powerful. I mean, this is powerful stuff. I mean, really powerful stuff. And again, it's a departure. I don't delve often into such powerful. Well, I do, but it's a powerful theme, and the whole story is so well. It's haunting as the character is haunted by trauma. We'll talk about all that. So this is a very special, introspective a bit of an interview, and I'm so glad you're here. And I have to thank Ann Marie Sabath for, kind of getting us together 4 or 5 months ago. Sometimes these things take months to put together, and she thought that this would be a good connection, and it is a good connection. So, my New Jersey Saturday morning monologue has now concluded.
So,
So, why don't you do a little
Kelvin,
background?
first of all, let me say I'm honored to be with you here and to speak with you. You are a very unique and intelligent person, as I learned from our discussion. So, thanks for having me here. Yeah, Dog. Dog is my novel, which I will tell you a little bit about myself. I was, as a young man, in a special unit in the Israeli army. Afterward, I did what everyone is doing, went to school, learned psychology, met my wife, had 3 kids, had a business, which we still have today, a company. But all the time I was suffering from manifestations of PTSD, which I didn't know what I was feeling because when, PTSD especially for men, but not always for men, it's as if it's symbolized some kind of weakness. We are men, we just went down, climbed down the trees. We were apes, and now we have to admit in some weakness. It's not always goes together. So my wife, my beautiful, amazing wife Ellie, told me, "You are beating me at night. You are screaming. You wake up in nightmares. Go treat yourself. It's from the army." I said, "No, everybody have nightmares. Don't worry." And I was basically, since the day I went, I become a reserve. I left the army. I was most time drunk or stoned from the morning till night. medicating myself. I didn't know it's medicating, but oppressing all what I've seen and done, and everything I saw in the army. I had few incidents. One of them was very severe because I shot my friend during an operation in the West Bank, and he got shot. He was basically more or less fine, but the whole scene was in damaged me. It injured my soul. Seeing my friend got down, and those seconds, which I don't know what happened to him, and I thought maybe I injured him badly, and he will be and dead. And I ran to him, and then the army actually didn't know how to handle those things. So I didn't see a psychologist, and it just I continued. So basically, I start doing all those things, and I started to feel anxiety and panic attacks. I still haven't admitted to myself that it's PTSD. Um, and I start writing books in Israel, which was I it was funny. I was more into writing the books than publishing them, so I wrote like 10 novels. At the end, I did have one of my novels published. It wasn't Dog, and two children books, one of which got many prizes and became a children play. And my dream was always to deal only on writing, but the PTSD and the business and raising a family, all of it was not letting me grow up as a writer. And a few years ago, I started to write subconsciously about PTSD. I still haven't admitted to myself I'm a PTSD survivor, which is funny, the author in me or my subconscious screamed that I am PTSD. I wrote one of the most culted books in Israel that was ever written about PTSD, which was made bestsellers and got to the long listed of Sapir Prize, which is the most prestigious prizes in Israel, and now is adapted to a feature film by one of Israel's best director, Eran Riklis, and I didn't know I'm PTSD. It's crazy. But then the COVID came. I left this novel aside, and the COVID came, and my teammates collected everyone from the team. I haven't seen them in 30 years. And we start talking on WhatsApp, and I already felt very stressed, and I was also excited, but I was very stressed. And then we had a teammate reunion, which I went, and it was very exciting, lots of drinking, of course. And I came home, and I was a different person. And my wife said, "Hey, Ishi, what did you take?" I said, "You know me, I don't take any drugs anymore. I take psychiatric antidepressant, nothing more." And she said, "No, you look differently." Became sick physically for a week, and then I collapsed. I didn't eat, I didn't sleep. I had anxiety attacks and panic attacks that lasted for months, weeks and months, and medication didn't help, and I took more, and I only then, 30 years after the army, I understood what happened, and I admitted I'm a PTSD survivor. I always, when I talking about it, I always use the term shame, because shame is what is killing lots of PTSD survivors, not only veterans, but you can easily see it in veterans because, since the war in Gaza, more than 70 Israeli soldiers took their own lives. And then I read that in the US, more than 6,000 veterans each year took their own lives. So it's a crazy disease. And when, why I'm saying that it's like a colon cancer, because when you are old enough to have colon cancer, lots of men are ashamed to do the testing because they have to put it up the butt, and we are men, monkeys. We cannot have someone check our butt, and then a lot of them are being shamed and just have this cancer because they didn't diagnose it on time. So it's the same with PTSD. If you do not catch it in time, if you do not go to therapy, if you do not handle it and deal with what you feel, eventually you will be in such a low place, and there's horrible manifestations from dissociation to anxiety and panic attacks to triggering to nightmares to wet your bed at night to uh,
Oh,
lots of bad,
yeah.
bad, bad stuff, and depression, of course. So then, because I couldn't handle work and family, and I was both in taking some kind of acknowledgement from the IDF to acknowledge that I was injured during the army, and I got, of course, to be a handicapped through the IDF, through the Ministry of Defense, and because I couldn't really do my job, I started to concentrate on dog, this book, because then I understood why I wrote it. So then I started to work on dog, and I wanted to do it myself, not to send it to publication houses in Israel, because I know how books handled, they stay on the shelf for a month or two and then they disappear, usually. And a magazine in Israel heard about it and they asked me to publish it chapter by chapter, and then their readers asked for the book, and they published my book, and then it became like a blast. It came out before October 7th in May 23, and it became like a cult book for PTSD. Many, many people came to, they bought the book and then they wanted me to signature it for them, to sign it for them, but it actually they wanted to speak with me. So I came, for months people came to my house, and my wife said, "Listen, Ishi, it's like a big shiva that people are coming and telling you all their trauma." Some of them were not even traumatized from the army. There was an officer, he was in the army, but he said, actually, he said it to me and to my wife, I'm the first time revealing it to stranger, but I'm traumatized from a sexual assault that I had from when I was a boy. And it was like amazing. People from all kind of jobs in the army, even not combat soldiers, but people that were almost lynched, or a photographer that saw horrible stuff in the army, and then you understand how huge this injury is. And then I started to learn more about it. I understood that in a statistic research the IDF did in Israel, they found out that PTSD survivors live 5 years less by average than all the other handicapped from the army, which is crazy. People are being hurt in their head, stomach, lose limbs, and by average, PTSD people live
Wow.
injury lived 5 years less.
Wow.
So when Dog became got to the Sapir Prize long listed, I got a bunch of money, and I said, to Ellie, my wife, I feel Dog should be something more universal. If what it did in Israel, all the world is crazy with wars. We have the Ukraine and Russia. We have Iraq and Afghanistan and Vietnam. We have conflicts all over, and people from all sides, you know, Palestinian, Israelis, everywhere there's PTSD. So I took one of the 5 best translators from Hebrew to English. Her name is Yarden Grishpan, and she's an amazing translator. And she translated the book, and I was amazed of the work she did. And I, even though it was the hardest time for an Israeli author to go out because of the October 7th war, uh, Sankata Press by Ann Marie saw the potential, and I got a lot of endorsements from lots of writers in Israel and in the US. And the book came out, and I'm now interviewed by this interesting person, Kelvin.
Wow. Wow. I've had a little, personally, I've had a little insight into PTSD because we've now become really good friends. His name is Robert Consul Magno. We call him Cozmo. And he was in the Marines, and he had a very difficult childhood. And he saw his father shoot somebody, and his father threw him down and then he went into Marines, and then he was diagnosed with PTSD and permanently disabled. Young guy. He and that's when we met, and I've interviewed him many times as a journalist, a writing journalist, and I had him on my TV show, and we stayed friends for a long time. I interviewed him for conversations with Calvin, but I mean, I've been learning about PTSD, and he was prescribed all kinds of meds, and he decided no more meds. He's going to exercise 8 hours a day, 7 days a week on his own.
Mm-hmm.
No doctors, no prescriptions. And he does exercise 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's a word, Meshuggah. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yet it works for him, and he became world ranked in jiu-jitsu. So, but as you're talking about PTSD, I'm looking at him.
Yeah.
He's different, and nevertheless, it was a gentle slap in the face for me to begin to understand and feel about PTSD because it's so foreign to me. It's foreign to me. So listening to you here, and as I'm listening to you, uh, um, uh, you just seem like a regular guy. It's a regular guy. I don't understand. And maybe if you have it, you still don't understand as what you're saying. What it is, and that's what we'll talk about. Um, um, it it it. So what is it like? So you have PTSD. What is it like to live in a country like Israel?
It's
Where trauma,
I said
where trauma is, quote, a national currency.
yes, crazy, really crazy. I mean, I have my ways of not listening, trying not to listen to the news, trying to get away from all the army stuff, but it follows you everywhere today on the channels so there's good days and bad days. 7th of October, it was crazy for me. I was in a way uh, sure that Israel is being destroyed. I mean, not that we were that far from it actually, but physically I was in such a tense, and I also relapsed so bad because the atrocities that I heard and the people screaming for help stayed with me. I went to my psychologist therapy, which I'm doing regularly, but I couldn't even speak. I just sat there for an hour and cried. It was so overwhelming for me. Uh, Also, I'm a son of a Holocaust survivor, and my grandfather had his tattoo on his hand. and he was in the camps. But that's for my next book that Anne Marie already bought and would come out in 2026, next year. But again, it's like I was in a crazy situation, in crazy state. I think having a severe PTSD means that it meets you everywhere. It's so unpredictable. You can be one day okay, more or less. I mean, balanced on medication, at least with me. And then I'm going to, my son finished a course in the army, so I'm going there and I'm sitting in a auditorium full of soldiers, and suddenly I can't breathe, and I have a panic attack, and I have to go out. So it can happen during driving. It can happen in the supermarket. Few months ago, even weeks ago, it was. I don't even know why, but I had some kind of aggressive behavior happening to me with one of the Arab workers there, which, of course, if it was a regular person, nothing would have happened. But because the language I heard and the way he acted aggressively, I couldn't hold myself, and then I don't see in my eyes, like it's a blackout, and I'm like starting almost to fist fight with him about stupid incident, and I was with my wife, so she heard the shouting, and I'm like grabbed by many people, and I just suddenly see my wife, and she's whispering to my ear, "It's everything is okay. I'm with you. I take." So really anything can happen uh, anytime, anything can trigger you, and it's very, very, very important to do, as you said, sport a lot, to try to be balanced. For me, I'm not touching any drugs or alcohol because I was addicted. Some people say that marijuana helps them in to calm down. My psychologist say it just help them to feel a little better, like everyone that smoke weed. But for me, it's just hoping for a good day and trying to take benzos if I have a panic attack, and take my medication and write. I discovered that words have a lot of power, so when I work, and I'm constantly working on my novels, and talking with people like you, which are very interesting for me, and take my mind out of the bad memories, and while we are doing it, it fills me up with good energy. So I think intellectually, dealing with literature, with working about my novels, is my way of therapy, much more than anything else. By the way, I wrote a few articles about it in Made in America, if you know them. They are
Okay.
quite big. So they
Okay.
have like I have like 7 or 8 articles if you search for it. So that's it,
Okay.
more or less.
I under-
Uh,
Writing is therapy, listen, everybody has issues. I had issues. I had issues with, it wasn't PTSD, but I had issues with something stuck inside me for decades and decades and decades that wanted to come out. And it manifested itself in so many different ways. I had a first marriage, unhappy. I mean, I didn't have PTSD, but I had something stuck inside me. And only now, as an octogenarian and a writer, and as you're writing, it's therapeutic, as you just said. It's therapeutic, and as I'm writing a novel, and it's loosely based on my journeys. I look inside myself, and that thing that was stuck inside, that thing that wanted to express and feel came
Mm-hmm.
out. And that just helps me write. And so writing is a great, because you know what? You're giving birth. For a guy writing a book, as Norman Mailer once said, for a guy writing a book, it's like giving birth. You feel a lot of the things that a woman feels, the pain, the joy, all of that, and it's an extended like gestation period. It took me 5 years to write my tortoise book, and that was 5 years trying to give birth. So,
Mm-hmm.
so you feel the pain, the joy. I mean, all these emotions, the drive, and why do you write? So I'm gaining some great insight into you. Um, um, so let's kind of just remind everybody.
Dive into the book.
Yeah, we're going to dive into the book. So,
Okay.
um, um, your protagonist in the book is named Gaylor, Galer.
Uh-huh, Geller. Yeah, Geller was
Was
it's
that
not
have something
his
to do with Yuri Geller? Did I
it
read it?
exactly. This is Uri Geller. Geller is not his my protagonist not is it's not his real name, Geller, but Geller is a nickname which he got because maybe we will tell a little bit of the plot. Not we will not reveal everything, but basically Geller was an officer in a special unit in Golani in the army. He was in a small war compared to others. It was called Pillars of Defense in Gaza. And he came back from the war, and everything is fine. He going to Japan with his girlfriend. He's going to start studying being a lawyer, and then it hits him the PTSD. He start getting panic attacks, anxiety. He don't understand what is happening with him. He looks in the mirror, he's feeling his face. He can't see that it's himself, which is a kind of disassociation. He's trying to cut off his special unit tattoo because you know it bothers him, and he start to use weed, and later on it's not strong enough, so he goes to other strong stuff until he's doing heroin, and then the way down is very quickly find himself as a drug addict living in a dump in Tel Aviv, losing everything, his apartment, his motorcycle, his girlfriend, his family. He's alone with two another interesting characters that are living in this dump, Crutchy Ziv and the Gregorian, which they are the kind of people you will find in the street were using drugs, and they are actually symbolizing what happens to people when they have PTSD, because most people in our society, when they are weak, when they are homeless, when they are drug addict, when they are prostitutes, usually it comes after some kind of PTSD, a wrecked family, a beaten father or mom, uh, army veterans, drugs, so many things that influence people, so they are not there for nothing. Those weak people, those transparent people, they are there because they are carrying on their shoulder this PTSD. So this is Geller where he finds himself. And my other protagonist is a dog.
Yes, and that the dog does some of the narrative, the narrative. That's a very unusual why. That's
Okay,
a
so
very unusual situation.
dog is I think is the most important protagonist in the book. There are actually two dogs that they are one. One dog was in Gaza, and the other dog is a stray dog that finds Geller in this dump in Tel Aviv. The dog in Gaza, he was just a stray dog. He wasn't a Muslim dog, not a Jewish dog, not an Arab dog, not a Hamas dog, not an Israeli dog. He was just a stray dog, like we all humans, you know. So those dogs are just dogs. They don't pick their sides. They came to one of Geller's teammates for affection, and what Geller's remember is that his teammate shot the dog in the head. And why is it a strong symbolic thing? Because Geller cannot handle his memories. He cannot handle the people he shot and maybe the innocent people that were killed in Gaza, but he also cannot deal with his friends that were burned in front of his eyes. So all those people that died, some of them he had the directed the responsibility for killing them, which is a different kind of a PTSD, which is called a moral injury, which is very commonly investigated today. He can't handle those memories, so he puts them all on this dog
Mm.
because it's easier for him to put all the memories and all the moral things that he has in his heart and mind on this stray dog in Gaza. And when this dog comes to Tel Aviv in the dump, then everything changes. Okay, so then the plots become to move, and Geller can have some kind of redemption, maybe, and the connection that he has with this dog is an amazing connection between two beings. Okay, and dog is not for vain called the man's best friend. You know, Geller finds even the body warmth of the dog something that he was missing for so many months
Wow.
as a homeless. So dog is a very important protagonist in my book. The book is actually told from both perspectives, Geller's and dog.
Okay.
And I think maybe another thing which is very important to talk about is why Geller is called Geller. You start saying it before. Geller was in the 70s the first international mentalist. Like anyone living in the 70s knew him, 80s even. I grew looking at his shows. Everyone in the world remembered that Geller was bending spoons.
Yep.
Okay, this is was the main show, and he claimed this real power. So when you are in such a low place like Geller in my book, with someone that actually lost everything and is a drug addict and mental illness like a PTSD, and he was a decorated officer in the army, in such a low place, there's nothing he thinks can raise him up except some kind of a magic potion or magic wand or a miracle like what Uri Geller did. He sees this movie in one of his teammates while they are still smoking pot together before he goes so deeply down, and he saw this movie of Uri Geller. He downloaded it to his phone, and then he's not only seeing it but he's practicing it. So every day his days are moving around, smoke injection, heroin, begging on the street, practicing spoon bending, and in his mind he knows that the minute he will succeed and will control his mind in a way that it can bend spoons like Uri Geller, that will be his redemption. Then he can really get out of his PTSD and his addiction and, come back to his old life. So this is why.
Wow. Wow. And I remember, I remember Yuri Geller so well, and I watched him bend the spoon, and I was fascinated. And that memory of what I saw and all my spiritual incantations, was a vivid memory, and it was a powerful memory. Um, so, is Dog a story of redemption or survival? Uh, um, uh,
I want to give hope for every, first of all, for myself, okay? And since I'm giving hope for myself, I want to give hope for everyone else because I'm not the worst case in the world. There are many, many people suffering from whole lots of problem, let's call it. So I think that when you read Dog, without telling the audience, making a spoiler, as they say today, the young people, my children, they don't want me to do any spoilers for them for anything. So when I don't want to spoil anything, but I do think that when you finish Dog, as hard book as it is still you will have some kind of an hope, and I truly think that PTSD should be handled and that people should see it. We have I'm Jewish, so in our religion you have a term that is called Tikkun Olam. Every Jewish people knows that it's to do the small things that changes the world a little bit. Okay, and if you smile to this man at the street or you do this small gesture to this someone who needs it, it all of them together are tikkun olam. And I think that one of the most important thing that I want my readers to go out with the feeling after they read Dog is to see the transparent people around us. When they drive around the downtown and someone comes to beg for money, I don't want them instinctively to think, oh, he's dirty, close up the window. I don't want, or when the beggar near their home in the street want to speak, you know, take 2 minutes to speak to him or to lend a hand or to buy him something warm, because there you have to understand that lots of them or some of them were veterans and some of them or all of them carries other PTSD and other mental injuries and other weakness of society. So if you do this tikkun olam, this small gesture, and you see those weak people in society, for me, it's everything. Okay, for me, if I saved one person, it is if I saved the whole world, and it's also a Jewish thing. So basically, I think that, and I got those responded from readers, uh, also from the English version, which was out in 1st of October, not long ago. But people already start reading and already start contacting me, and it's amazing. I think dogs really change something in the way you feel or think about PTSD and about weak people.
if you look at it, by the way, you're talking about Tikkun Olam. Uh, I for a long time have this. It's the same thing, and I'm never sure where it came from. But I heard years and years ago, he or she who saves a life saves the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you just described. And that's been something that's been in my conscious and subconscious for a long time. The other thing, listening to you, Ron, Ishi, uh,
Ishi. We are
Ishi,
friends now, Kelvin.
yes, Ishi.
Ishi.
So, everything. How do I explain it? You took something so deep and powerful, and you did a wonderful deed with it. You've expressed yourself and you're teaching yourself, and there's a wide range of people out there who are going to get some strength from your words. You've done a very good deed, and you couldn't have done this if you didn't live it, and you lived it, and you're taking what you lived and done such good things with it and expressed and to teach and to learn and to lead and to guide. I look at, my journey, which is not your journey, but I've had my, you look back, I've had my things, and I'm able to take that stuff deep inside and put it into words. And that's a gift. So you've been gifted, if you look at it. Uh, um, just take a deep breath and go off. Take a deep breath, go off topic, and here's a couple of off topic questions. Just
Mm-hmm.
I got one of these questions from Barbara Walters, a great journalist,
Mm-hmm.
and she's been an inspiration for me. So here's this. Here's it's no big deal. Here's the question: excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
Oh, many authors. Many authors, because y- my reading started very young. First of all, when I was very young, I think maybe 6 or 7, my mom already read to me Lord of the Rings and Watership Down, and like more of a hard and complicated literature, uh, which probably was the seeds for me to be an author. I mean, my mom also she's still alive, but she was a children books author, and my grandma was a translator and a teacher and an author. So it runs about like a little bit in the family. But I think that listening to great authors really gave me the seeds that literature is the most amazing things that man created, that people create. It's I see a lot of TV series and movies with my wife, of course, but every day, every night, no matter what, we read 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. We read before we go to sleep. So I love authors from all over the world. I would love to have a chat with Haruki Murakami, which I love what he writes, and some dead Russian authors like Bulgakov, which I adore, with the I don't remember the name is in English, but I think The Artist and the Margarita. This was his one of his highlights, and I love Meir Shalev. I love Israeli literature, of course, which I read, but I think Meir Shalev, which died, I think last year, he was one of my favorite, like my biggest author, because when he wrote a Russian novel, this was the name, I suddenly understood that Israelis can write also like the big Russian writers. So there's so many,
Yeah.
from science fiction, which I loved as a young person, Asimov and all the big ones, Robert Heinlein, and till all the beautiful and amazing literature that we all read all the time now. I read from all over the world translation, which, by the way, uh, starting to be an international author with Dog taught me a very important lesson about translators, okay? And this is for Yarden Greenspan, because when I read the literature from Italy or from Japan, Banana Yashimoto, or from Italy, or from Spanish, or I loved Saramago, Blindness, all the big authors which I read. I, I, I did think about translations, okay, about the translator, but I didn't always looked up about who was the translator, and I didn't pay too much attention to it as or gave them the credit they deserved, okay? And this was my fault. Like, it's a fault in many readers. They don't understand that the translator has to be uh, an artist and creative no less than the author. Because what Yarden did, she took my voice and my words, and she didn't just change the words to English. She interact with her voice, and now Dog in English is a combination of two voices and two arts that are connected between my art and Yarden's Grishpan art. Okay, so when I look at Dogs in English, for me, it's a kind of I'm the father of the book, and Yarden is the mom of the book in English, because you cannot read Dog in English without saying wow of what Yarden did. And it's amazing, and I adore her for what she did. And I told her, she's very modest and she is amazing writer herself, an amazing translator. But I think we have a very special connection now, because I feel she's part of me. Part of Dog is part of me. And I think that she did an amazing work with Dog. And by the way, a lot of our podcast and author events we are doing together, because I told Yarden, in English, people should know you also. People should understand how you took the words and the voice and what you did with them. So it's amazing, I think, talking about translations.
And of course it's not my world. I have no clue about that, but how listening to you, how it's everything to take your words, your emotion, your feelings, and convert that from Hebrew to English. And you've got to preserve, and you've got to keep that voice. And what a difficult. I mean, I can't even imagine how difficult that has to be. I know I for the first time had an editor when I did Tortoise, and my whole thing that before we got together was you got to keep my voice. You
Hmm.
can't. I write uniquely and differently, and you must preserve my voice, and that's what she did with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and you're the best judge of that. Wow, and being swimming around that pool and understanding the whole world, our world, being an author. Uh, um, it's
I think
funny.
it's not only an author. I think that we meet so many human beings, so many beings, and if we are opened, it can bring us to wonderful places. I have an example. I have a author event in the 22 this month in Berkeley. It's of course a webinar from Israel. It's Yarden and I together. We will talk about dog. I think it's called the Ellen Diller Institute in Berkeley or whatever, something like this. Uh, and this girl, this professor for Hebrew literature, Yael Sagilovich, after we had this premature conversation about the event, she wrote me, listen, I have this amazing friend, which is like a soulmate for me, and I want to introduce you to her. She's a writer, she's an editor in Israel, and she's very smart, she's amazing. She wrote to both of us, and it's amazing, you know. I know this girl for 3 days or 4 days now, and we are in WhatsApp, and suddenly we have so many things in common, and I help her to open, to introduce her to Anne Marie and to tell her about my journey to be international. She is international in Europe. She got translated to Italy and Greece, and I find out she is the editor of the most important and prestige literary magazine in Israel, and
Well,
she wants to cooperate on this. And it's amazing how when you are open in your mind and you are basically kind to people and give them of what you have. Um,
the
I
more you
think
give, the more you give, the more
y-
you get.
exactly,
The more you
exactly,
open, the more you receive. Uh,
exactly.
uh,
Yep, yep.
and I've learned that the last 10 years spiritually. You've taken it, we're like antennas, we're human antennas. You put the antenna into the universe, and
Mm-hmm.
the more you seek, the more you get. Uh,
Yep.
Really simple. If you don't have an antenna and you want to just be closed, then you're closed. But if
Mm-hmm.
you open and you network and you experience, you get. Which leads me to a quick question. How did you connect with Anne Marie at Sonata Press?
Yeah. So when I got Dog translated, it was like the worst time for an Israeli author to try to be published. And I already had a lot of endorsement for the book and blurbs from the books from very famous authors. And I said, what the heck, I will just send it to everyone because, I worked in it. I didn't yet have ChatGPT to help me with emails. Today it's much more simple. But then I just sat and wrote emails, and I got some answers from agents in the U.S. wanted to read the book, and also I got a reply from Anne Marie, which was the first indie publisher that wanted the book physically to buy it. And I didn't want to wait for any agent, And basically, in my art, I had a connection with Anne Marie, and I also had a feeling that this book deserves more a publication house than an agent. I don't want to be with an agent that finds me a big publishing house and then I do one tour and 2 months and then the book
Gone,
disappear. Yeah,
gone,
but
gone.
with Anne Marie, it's a hard job. She knows what she wants. She told me you need to do this, a website, you need to do reels, you need to do posts, you need to everything in English, and it was new to me because I'm not a native English speaking, and I suddenly all my social networks has to be turned to English, and I was a little, it was a little quarrel with Anne Marie, but then he said to her, you know what? You are the expert, humbling. I'm doing whatever you want. So I opened my website, my YouTube channel, my everything became English. And today, some months afterward, I can tell you that I'm growing. I'm feeling much more comfortable discussing my work in English. I meet lots of interesting people from all over the world. And I think that together we have something very good. Anne Marie, she bought my next novel, which uh, an amazing novel. Sorry for not being modest this time, but I have
Well,
no one to speak about it but myself. So I will tell you, it's a novel about. It's called The Girl Who Rode the White Lion, and it's about Sarah Frank Simon, which is a little girl, not little, she's a 14 years old girl, Jewish girl in Crystal Night in
oh, wow.
Germany.
Personal? Wow.
Yeah, and this SS officer, which has a personal vendetta against her family because he grew up with with her father and he was envy all the time about her father's success. He destroy her father and her mom, and is running and is trying to catch her. She ran away to some kind of a circus in Germany, and this was based, we talked a little bit before the recording about your book and how it came up to your mind, and it's amazing how stories come to our mind. And I read one time about a real circus family, the Althoff family, which hid Jews during the Holocaust in Germany, because the circus is a kind of a place of unique people from all over the world, and it was easier for them to hide Jews from the Nazi in such a multicultural society like a circus. So it's a true story, but the story just give me the inspiration for the novel. And the other part of the novel happens in the 50s in New York, where a veterinarian in Central Park in New York is doing an autopsy to a white lion, a rare white lion which died, and he finds in its stomach a Nazi ring
No.
in the lion's stomach.
Wow.
And he became obsessed
Wow.
how the Nazi SS ring, which was, by the way, a real thing that Himmler gave a special ring for every SS officer.
Wow.
He made like 30,000 rings, which were important more than the officer himself. If the officer died in a battle or everything, everywhere, the ring must have been taken back to Himmler. And before the war ended, of course, the defeat of the Germans, Himmler ordered to put in the ground, in the mountain, those rings and blow it up.
Wow.
So this is a crazy story. So the veterinarian named Mark Spencer, he finds this ring in the stomach of the lion, and it takes him to a crazy adventure to
Wow.
Miami, to France, to Israel, and the both of the timelines meets at the end in a crazy adventure. This
Wow.
is much more of a Hollywoodic
Yeah,
book.
I could see a movie there. Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
Anne-Marie grabbed this thing, bought it, and actually it's
Wow.
already translated by Yarden Grichpan.
Wow.
And we are also already working on it, and it's amazing.
Wow.
So, we are, like we said before, work, 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 and you
Yes,
feel a little better and more balanced.
correct. Winding down, gosh, we could talk. You'll come back. I mean, gosh, we can, when the next book comes out, we'll talk. But I did read, as an author and journalist, I did read a couple pages of some of your reviews. One review really stuck with me. Um, uh, Dog should come with its own Surgeon General warning. This highly suspenseful and unexpectedly lyrical book could be hazardous to your health. Read at your own risk by Roya Hakayan. I just thought that was a great review.
Yeah,
Just
I
great,
thought so
and
too.
you've got wonderful reviews.
Thank you.
I'm sensitive to that too. The power of reviews. I, I'm part of this group called Bold Authors Network, run by Kay Wagner. You can always come by. We meet on Zoom 4 to 5 on Mondays. It's probably going to be late for you, but each week we discuss a different topic. And in one of them, we talked about the algorithm. The algorithm on Amazon just loves reviews,
Mm-hmm.
star reviews, just loves it, and that's we're living in a new world, of course, and the world is as I'm learning, because I belong to 4 different AI things. The world, according to Calvin, is changing every 15 minutes, not every year, not every month, not every day, but every 15 minutes, and pretty soon every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
AI. But anyway, it's a great review. Um, what else? Well, the last thing, and this session, is she, what do you, this is a great, I love this question because it's important. So what do you hope readers take away, um, especially American readers, take away from reading Dog? And I hold it up again.
Mm-hmm.
Last question. That was it.
I basically, because we already talked about what I want people to get from the book, we said about Tikkun Olam and for them to see the people, I may turn a little bit your question to what I hope for myself, maybe.
Fine.
Okay? And it's connected because I want for myself to be seated in as many people as possible in the US and, of course, worldwide, and to people understand PTSD, and for people to understand my writing and to like my writing. This is, at the bottom line, we are artists, and when we have my ever our art goes around the world or goes out of our end, we just want people to feel it, to see it, to touch it, to read it, to watch it. And so, of course, like every other artist, this is my dream because I have so many novels, yet some of them finished, some of them are being processed, some of them are even just ideas. But the bottom line is that I do want to write as published as many novels as possible and to be it's about maybe it's a little you know how do you say it in English, prestigious, or I don't know,
Well, it's a noble. What we do is a
I would,
noble.
yeah, I want people to reach out. I want people to tell me what they think. um, That's it basically. So of course I would love people to follow me after they hear this conversation, which was, by the way, very, very nice and intellectual with you, Kelvin. So I would love people to follow me on my networks, to buy Dog, of course. When they finish reading Dog, please give it to your friends. You know, I'm not so keen on just buying, but I'm more keen about having the story circle around. And yes, I think that you will find as a reader a little different perspective of PTSD and of the weak people in society, basically. And that's it. I enjoyed your show very much. I wish we can speak more, and we
Love
will
it.
probably meet in my next book if
would
you
love it.
like.
Would absolutely. You know, we're
That would
friends
be an
now, and I've learned. I've learned so much, and I think, and again, I don't talk about politics or anything, and it's not my thing, but PTSD is a worldwide thing, and basically the world is clueless
hmm
about war and
Yeah.
clueless. It was clueless when all these. We didn't even know what PTSD was, by the way, when PTSD is a new thing when soldiers were coming back from Vietnam. That horror, that hell of a war, and they had all these conditions. That was the birth of the recognition of PTSD. So
And still for years they were considered cowards.
yeah, all kinds of
You
things,
know?
bad things.
Not only in recent years, only in the recent years, PTSD started to become a very natural injury
Yeah,
that should
yeah.
be treated, but in
And now,
Israel it just happened a few years ago.
yeah, and listen, I can't even imagine, on both sides of the fence there, on both
Of
sides. It's
course,
always both sides, on both
always.
sides. No, I don't talk about that, but I have lamentations, how silly we are as a species,
Mm-hmm.
how
Yeah.
silly we are because they got some of the nicest beaches in the world at Gaza, and I would never not. It would be part of my experience to go to Gaza in different times in a different world, and go to a hotel and spend a week hanging out
Mm-hmm.
there, and that's the power and the beauty of what is there. We the species just don't get it on
Let's
both
hope
sides.
we can
Well, I
just
hope everything is hope.
hope.
Everything is hope.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's funny. I watched something last night that was very illuminating. Japan, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor and killed 2,000 American soldiers in Pearl Harbor. Americans, period, not soldiers, but Americans in Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to war right away with Japan, and we killed about 2.5, 3 million Japanese. Then a funny thing happened, and I marvel at this, and nobody talks about this really. But about a week or two after, we killed those 2.5 million people, and they killed plenty of us too, quarter of a million, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
About 2 weeks after that, we became best friends with them, and I mean, just look at Japan and America today. It's
I'm very hopeful, Kelvin. Let's
it's
hope for the best, you
hopeful.
know.
Hopeful. That's the
We
power.
have to be with hope. Yep.
It's the power of hope. It's the power of realizing, the power of working together, the power of understanding, the power
Yeah.
of moving on with life, and Japan and America. It's hey, it was a beautiful thing. It's funny.
Mm-hmm.
One of my objections to the Vietnam War growing up, I had objections, and we all had objections. People are dying on both sides, but one of my chief things is I thought we were fighting that war. Maybe to save face. It's 6,000 miles away, and that bothered me. And then I intellectualized, and I said to myself, 6 months. And again, I was a kid. I said 6 months after this war, McDonald's and Coke and Pepsi are going to be in Vietnam selling hamburgers
Of
and
course.
soda. And guess what? That's what
They
happened.
did.
And even more crazy is Vietnam today here in America is a prime honeymoon destination.
Yes.
Americans love to go to Vietnam, forgetting that we lost 58,000.
Yeah.
North Vietnam lost millions, and yet we're honeymooning there. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
that's our world. But anyway,
Let's
uh,
hope.
that's all hope. It's hope. Hey, this has been great, and please do
Thank
come back.
you.
and the work you're doing is
Thank
amazing.
you,
And you're
Kelvin. It's been great for me also.
truly, truly, truly. So I'm just going to stop recording. We'll do a 2 minute wrap. Uh, Thank you so much, Ishi. This has been great. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelvin.